Rebecca, thank you for coming on the Almost There
Hi.
show. Thank you
Woo!
so much for joining me. Just to introduce you to those who are watching, let me know if I missed out anything. So your portfolio looks amazing, by the way. You have so many projects, a master's degree in acting, a bachelor's in international business management at the Hague University, a
Yeah.
master's in anthropology and journalism, and you can speak several languages: Spanish, Portuguese, German, French, native Dutch, and English. Wow, that's
Nice.
incredibly impressive. How do you think all of these degrees has helped you in your acting career? Do you think it's given you any advantages or?
Well, yes, in a way. I think first and foremost as an actor, you the more life experience you have, the better. Because hey, maybe one day I'll be asked to play the role of an anthropologist and I can just slip right in it, or maybe
Oh,
even a
yeah.
journalist. So playing it from that angle, I never say that I regret having done any of the things that I did in my life.
Right.
Even if it meant that I was active in different disciplines or different industries, because there's always something in there that you could use for your creative or artistic uh, work. And I always firmly believe that if you that the decisions that I made in those moments were the best in that moment. I mean, I did not know that I was going to go down the path that I'm doing right now. So yeah, I just take it as it is, and I'm proud of what my younger self did. So yeah.
I mean, for sure. I watched your production, A Tribute to Frida,
Oh
2021. And I
yeah.
must say, I loved the makeup, the facial expressions, the accent, the allure, incredible.
Thank
So,
you.
and your experience living in so many different parts of the world, I'm sure that has helped you to embody these, amazing figures of the past.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you hit the spot right there. It's especially with accents and with languages. They're very popular in the acting world. I mean, the more skills in general you have in your vernacular, the better. And I think languages and accents are very, very popular. So, especially because these days, I mean, you have Spanish actress portraying Arabian actresses or Arabian characters. So I know it's wrong from a cultural appropriation perspective, so to speak, but it's really good to know that you as an actor are very versatile with your looks, with your skills, whatever you can come up with. I mean, recently I saw a movie with Russell Crowe playing an Italian pope, and I believe he spoke real Italian, or at least I mean, that's what they made it look like. And when he spoke English, it was like the perfect Italian accent. So
Right.
it's just, it just it comes with the job, and if you can bring that to the table, then that makes you just an extra uh special candidate in a way.
Right, it's the icing on the cake, isn't it? For
Totally.
sure.
Totally.
Yeah, so where did you grow up?
So I'm originally from the Netherlands, born and raised in Utrecht. And
Okay.
it's right across the pond, so it's not really crazy far. So that's good if I want to visit my family. Naturally, it's a lot easier. You take the Eurostar, Ryanair, whatever, or you can swim, whatever. And so yeah, that's where I was brought up.
Okay, and you moved to London. Whenabouts was this? Why did you decide to move to London?
Well, it's about almost 10 years now because I think I moved end of 2015. And so I do think that it was definitely mainly for the performing arts. I felt I hit a point at that age as well where I thought, you know what? I really want to do something creative right now. I really want to give into this passion for performing, and I want to do it right. And so that's when I decided to find a program, a training program that could help me do that. And I think the best developed ones, in my opinion, were in London. So they were in my the way I see it, London is kind of like the European equivalent to New York in the US. And
Yeah.
I felt I needed to go to a place where I could get the best training out there. If I were to do this, I wanted to do it right, so to speak. So that's why.
Yeah. So do you ever see yourself expanding to Hollywood? I know there's
Oof.
been kind of reports about the acting industry in the UK kind of being on rocks at the moment. So,
I, to be very fair, I think if you would have asked me that question about 10 years ago, I would have probably said, yes, I want to do Hollywood and I want to win an Oscar and all that stuff. But I think over time, maybe age has something to do with that as well, but over time, you change your perspective on things. You know, these
right,
days, what I've come to notice, and it really saddens me a little bit, is that winning awards, being chosen for roles, is not just about talent and skills anymore. It seems to be all about who's got the biggest following base on social media, um, who's you know ranking high in popularity lists, and I don't know what they have, and not so much about skill. So in that sense, to me, at this stage, I don't really mind, or I don't really care as to where I'm active. I believe the film industry is international enough that if, let's say, they're doing something on the other side of the world, they'll just fly you in. So you don't
yeah,
necessarily have to be based in LA or in Hollywood or in London. It really doesn't matter. I Right now, the simple goal for me is to just be a working actress, to just constantly have jobs lined up, big or small. I just want to continue performing. Because that's at the end of the day what I do it for. Now, whether you win awards or not, whether you become an A-list actor in Hollywood, I mean, these days it's a bit waning. Hollywood's also kind of losing its spark a little bit. I'm not downplaying anyone because it still
mm,
speaks to the imagination of a lot of aspiring actors. And you know what? You should. If that's what inspires you to get the best out of you, then absolutely. Um, but it shouldn't be a final stop or the only thing that you're holding on to validate you as an actor, you know,
um,
because even if it would never happen for you, you should still want to be um, doing it for yourself. You know that you find your drive force somewhere else. It needs to be more internal rather than outwardly. And so for me, the only mission is not so much, oh, I want to end up in Hollywood. For me, it's just I want to be a working actress. I want to be on projects all the time. I want to meet people. I want to keep getting better at my craft. Whatever happens along the road, I don't really care. I just want to
yeah.
do what I'm passionate in doing.
I mean, for me, some of my favorite films of the 21st century are UK films. So I truly do hope that um, the industry kind of gets on the rise again at some
Yes.
point. In terms of your experience in theatre, I mean, you were part of Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. What was that like? What was it like working in theatre and on this excellent production?
It's amazing. I love theater. I've got a very special place in my heart for theater and stage work. It's believe it or not, yes, it's acting, but it's very different from screen work. And
Yeah.
I feel privileged that I get to experience both of them to a lesser extent at the moment because my main focus right now is more screen acting. Um, but also probably because stage acting takes a lot of time. It's not like you do it once and then you're done. No, it really takes a certain period of time that you really have to be on stage every night for, I don't know, 3, 4 months, however long your contract is, and you got to do it every night. Or at least 6 nights a week. So it takes a lot more of you in terms of time and energy. Whereas with screen work, it's literally just you shoot it in 1 week, 2 weeks time, and then you're done and you never have to do it again and you can move on to the next project. So you can get more stuff done in a shorter amount of time. So, but what I do like about stage acting is you really, you have that interaction with the audience. And that's also what makes you a performer. You need to love the audience, and I really do love to interact with my audience. It's the best
Yeah.
feedback you can get, really.
Oh, and in terms of Wicked, that was, heavily theatre inspired, or, so do you think there'll be more productions such as Wicked in on screen
Oh, I
at some
think
point?
so. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, to be fair, I mean, this sounds really harsh. I think there is a slight bit of a shortage in Hollywood, or at least in the film industry, for good scripts, because they I keep seeing them doing remakes um and prequels and sequels, and they're just making things up as they go. So I think wherever they can get new material from, they'll definitely do it. And they already know that some musicals are classics and people will want to see it because they're just a fan of the musical version.
Yeah.
So they'll just bank on that. So I definitely think they'll do that. Yeah. It should be good. I mean, I really enjoy Wicked. Yeah, it was amazing. It was a spectacle.
It was, and I do know the actors spent so much time on set. And they also filmed two movies at once, I believe. So yeah, I'm,
Yes.
I'm truly excited for the sequel. So in terms of working in post production, you did have experience on Netflix, The Witcher season 3, VFX coordination. Why did you kind of head down this kind of pathway? What kind of sparks you to get experience in VFX? Because I know you're such a great person. You have experience in screenwriting as well. Um, so yeah, what
Yeah.
kind of inspired you?
So, I think a couple of years ago, um, when I actually, after I graduated from drama center, initially the plan was I'm gonna work really hard, um, to become an actor and just take on whatever I can find. But then, um, as any actor, you have to get side hustles. You have to survive naturally. And I started taking on jobs in production. And I started working for Screen Skills. Well, MPC was one of them. And then I sort of created this, I don't know, got this desire to learn more about production, what's happening behind the cameras. And very slowly, this plan in my head was sort of created as to, oh, okay, maybe I would like to start a business of my own. Maybe I would, yeah, maybe I want to have a bit more control over the projects that I'm involved in rather than waiting for scripts to come my way. And probably even roles that I don't really see myself play or that I don't really agree with, because oftentimes they're very female denigrating, and I just don't really feel it's appropriate for me to play them. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna try and learn as much from each production phase, so to speak. So pre-production, post-production, production being on set, just shooting, filming. I just wanted to learn a little bit from every role, from every department. And that also included post production, naturally, which was one of the final things I had not really had any experience in. I mean, I knew in that moment it was VFX that was very submerging. It still is, but it's an ever evolving sector. It's a very there's a lot of changes. Unfortunately, a lot of redundancies. A lot of companies went bust this year as well, which is very sad. But it was a crucial thing if you eventually wanted to start doing your own filmmaking, that you need to know all about each department. That was my opinion. If I ever wanted to really, head and captain my own projects, I would want to know about every department, and that included VFX. And so I found this amazing company, The Mill, which is unfortunately closed down like last week.
No,
And
I think I've heard of the mill as well. Such a
yeah,
shame.
it's such a shame. It was quite an overnight thing from what I've been told. And I spent it well. a year there just learning about the pipeline, getting to know the artists and what they need, and also seeing what happens behind the scenes. So literally, for example, for The Witcher, which I, by the way, did for another company, which is called Cinecide, and for The Witcher, what I get to see along with the artists is basically a guy in a green suit holding something, and at some point there needs to be a massive monster that needs to come out of that. And to see that process really helps you, funny enough, as an actor as well. Because if, let's say, you are on set and you are in front of a green screen having to pretend whatever magical creature is in front of you, at least you know what you're looking at and what the production is looking at. I think this is probably the biggest takeaway for me as an actor being in post production, because I actually see what they're looking at, what they need when I'm in frame, what happens when I'm not, all these technical information, all this technical knowledge that really helps me actually become a better actress, because I know what will make their life easier and what ultimately will make me look better as an actor, so to speak, what brings the best out in me in terms of my performance as well. So, and that was just something that I did not think of going into VFX, by the way. That was something that I realized afterwards. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Your whole entire journey inspires me as well. As well, I've been looking at
Oh,
your work and your story, and it's truly inspiring. But I wanted to know, what kind of motivated you in the first place to go into the acting industry?
right. I think I always believe these certain things with people, especially creative skills, are always somehow in each person dormant. Um, I always had a passion for performing, but when I was younger, I think I was afraid to give into it because I was actually quite shy, believe it or not, when I was a little girl. So the first thing that I was sort of hiding behind were books. I loved writing. When I was a little girl, I loved writing. I had these little notebooks, and I would just, with different colors, I would rewrite the ending of a book that I read that I would didn't agree with, or something silly like that. Back in the days, you didn't have social media, internet was very limited, so you actually had to find different sources of entertainment. And I loved writing. But then at some point, I think during my teenage years, I started modeling. I sort of rolled into that, and that really helped me get that performer out. Though I have a feeling that these are the kind of things that are always already inside someone. It's just there are certain things throughout your life that trigger it, and it kind of wakes it up. And I think after, especially the modeling, I realized I really do like performing, and I like it using my body as the ultimate tool, which basically means acting, because obviously as an actor you use your body, you use your voice, you use movement, you use
Yeah.
expressions, and I realized that that was something I could be really good at. And so I slowly started to explore that for myself, because it was all very new for me. As you mentioned earlier, I was actually specializing in completely different things. um, but one always forgets how important it is to know yourself, know your body, and understand the presence that you have. Let's say, for example, for businesses, the biggest fear for a lot of people in corporate world is public speaking or presentations, but that's second nature to an actor, so, or just entertaining, like you're at an event, oh, can someone just go and entertain the guests? That's basically an actor's job. So you
All
see
in
all
that
these
side.
all these
Yeah.
elements of what an actor basically does, the core work of an actor. It comes back in every industry, in everything that you do. There's always a need for that thing that the actor does naturally. And when I started to give into that, I just felt like it made sense for me. And I was not going to question that feeling. So I thought, you know what? If this is what I feel I need to do now, then I'm just going to find a way. And well, the rest is on my LinkedIn, I guess. Oh, yeah. So that's basically, yeah, how it started.
And a lot of people say that moving away from their hometown has helped them with self-development and to just, um, develop as a person. So how do you think it's helped you? I mean you've moved from the Netherlands to the UK and you spent time in so many different countries. How do you think it has helped you to even understand and connect with other people and their stories?
Yeah, absolutely. So one always learns a lot when you're traveling. I mean, it broadens your horizon. I think the very first thing that you learn is to stand on your own 2 feet. And I
Yeah.
think that was crucial for me to learn because moving to another country, it requires you to not think, oh, I can always fall back onto someone. Yes, I'm pretty sure you've got a great solid network like your family or your parents, but I think the art is in not depending on that, depending on yourself and see how strong you really are. I don't think many people realize that. And when you're traveling, that's the first thing that you learn. So the very first trips that I made was actually to Latin America. I lived in Mexico for a while, and I lived in Argentina. Both times, stupidly, I ended up in the hospital. One time it was I think it was some kind of a stomach fever, and the one in Argentina was a food poisoning thing. I had no
Wow.
one. I had absolutely no one. For some reason, I even remember with the Argentinian case, I actually crawled to a taxi because there was no one there to help me out. I woke up in a hospital, and somehow I made it out. It was very scary, but looking back, I'm like, I did that. I actually made it out alive, and I did it all by myself. It's not the most ideal thing that could happen to you. That's not what you want when you're traveling. But if it happens, you know that you can depend on you, which is very important. And thinking about being an actor, being in this industry, it sometimes can be a very lonely job because, people who are not actors, they might not always understand you. And, you're working on projects, you become a family for the duration of the production, and then you have to say goodbye to these people. So it sometimes can be lonely. So to have that feeling of independence already in you is actually very helpful. And in terms of other things that I've learned when I'm traveling, um, I think you're picking up, as we've mentioned earlier, you're picking up a lot of like local culture, cultural customs, linguistic, skills, accents. You learn a lot from the local people, depending on where you're going, of course. I mean, if you're going to something that's similar to the UK, it wouldn't be much difference. It wouldn't be very impactful, or the difference wouldn't be very noticeable. But if you're going to a place like Mexico or Japan or I don't know, the Philippines, or maybe you go to an African country, it's just, it makes you feel like, the world is so much bigger than that, than my problems or what I'm going through, which is another thing that helps you quite a lot as an actor. Especially aspiring actors, young actors, they usually take things very heavily, especially in the beginning when you get rejected or anything like that. It's like, oh, the world is falling apart. So if in that moment you just decide to just get away and move and just travel to another country, it just helps you to disconnect from the rejection, disconnect from characters that you've played, just that bit of disconnection. And I think that's one thing that I learned during traveling as well, to just disconnect. And I don't just apply it to my acting work. I apply it to my private life as well. It's very helpful.
And touching on mental health of, young actors, there was recently, COVID and the acting and writing strike that, was in the US, but also affected the film and TV industry in the UK. What was that period like for you as, actors that you know and talk to?
It was devastating. I mean, not just for actors, but also in production, because it was at that time that I was actually working for one of the post production houses, and the screenwriters strike. I mean, it put a lot of businesses like down, really. I mean, businesses closed down, people lost their jobs. It was yeah, it was absolutely heartbreaking. So uh the way I handled it, that was actually the time when I thought to myself, now I'm going to start my own company, which is Visualized Productions, and that's the company that I set up last year. Its film production company is very young. So that's this I last year, 2 years ago. So it was literally around the screenwriter strike when I saw that the industry was on its knees. I saw so many talented people being fired and lost their jobs because there were no projects coming through. And I thought, I do not ever want to be at the mercy of these bigger companies. I don't want this to be a distraction of my creative process. And I want to be able to help others as well. To not ever have to feel like this again or to just not have to go through this. So I decided to start my own company. That was my answer to this crisis. And it's still ongoing. It's still growing. I get a lot of good feedback. It's a lot of hard work too to run this business in addition to performing. At the moment, I'm kind of doing both. So it's a bit of a hybrid. But I'm a lot happier, and I feel like I'm doing the right thing because it's not just for me. I also help others with it as well, and that makes me feel like, hey, I'm doing something good. I'm contributing in a way. It's a small business at the moment, but it's good enough. At least the seed has been planted, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing. And how you took a bad situation and were able to create something wonderful out of it, helping so many people. So yeah, props to you. That's great. And it's International Women's Day, and I think you're the perfect person to have on this episode today because
You.
wonderful. It's been, what you're doing is great. So
Thank you. Thank you so much. And honestly, yeah, this is really my way of giving back and to share the knowledge that I've acquired and the many things that I have experienced to the next generation. There's nothing better than pushing the button of the elevator for it to go down and pick up other people to come back up. And that could be women or men. I don't really discriminate. Even though it's International Women's Day,
yeah,
everyone deserves a chance. And
thank you. Yeah, 100%. And recently, I'm not sure if you watched the Oscars. I know we spoke about the Oscars recently.
yes,
But there was a comment made about AI and the film industry and film essentially. And I believe the host was saying that this production didn't have any AI involved and wasn't made with AI essentially. But in January, it was revealed that Amelia Perez did had AI voice cloning, and the Brutalist used AI to make edits to the dialect, so the Hungarian dialect of the
right.
character. So, what do you think about the use of AI in film, and how do you think it will impact the film industry?
It's a difficult one, because what you're so these news articles that came out about these two movies having used it apparently in what seems to be a post-production process.
Yes.
Now, in post-production, speaking from experience, they do use a lot of tools to try and fine-tune and tweak the final product of a film or whatever, TV or even a commercial. So it's not a strange thing. Like AI happens to be one of the many tools that seems to be more technologically advanced to do even more, like replicating people's voices or images. So in my opinion, as long as it is used as just that, just a post-production tool to tweak and fine-tune, because I understand if it's such a big production and you know you can't ADR it or you cannot reshoot it because it's too expensive, then you're gonna have to fix it in post. I know they hate hearing that, but AI should just be part of that toolbox, but that's it. Actually using AI to take over entire jobs, especially the artistic jobs, that is a whole other realm that is very much still under discussion. I find it a very tricky area. Like I said, on the one hand, if it's used in a proper, decent way, not that it gets in the way or it takes away jobs, from actors. Like you, let's say, want to have Scarlett Johansson in your movie, but she said no, or she's too expensive. So you create an AI version of her to still have her likeness in your movie. Now that is a total no-no. And I think a year ago, something similar with Scarlett, by the way, happened that she was asked to lend her voice to a commercial or a voiceover piece. She said no. The company used AI. They deny it, but they used AI to replicate a voice that sounds exactly like her. But basically, after she said no, so involuntarily they used something that sounds just like her because the real person did not want to do it.
That's
That
also
I'm against.
unethical.
It's
Yeah.
very unethical. So that's what I'm saying. This is a very gray area we're talking about here, because where do you draw the line?
Mm.
If it's, like you said, voluntarily just tweaking, fine. But if you start to copy people's voices, people's image, face, picture, whatever, against their will, so without any consent, then I'm like, no, you can't do that. You just can't. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to hear your perspective. And it'll be interesting. Oops, it'll be interesting to kind of like see where you know AI takes the film industry in the next few years. The I did mention this earlier about the industry kind of being a bit rocky at the moment. What do you think? What do you see in the future for the UK industry?
Hmm.
Um,
The film industry, right?
the film industry, yeah.
Um, well, I always I'm a very positive person. I always do hope that things work out, whatever the natural course is, for the industry, both for actors, for crew, for post production, everyone that is involved. There's so many talented people. They have been training for years, only to see the rug being pulled from under them for all the wrong reasons, whether it's wrong corporate decisions or mismanagement or AI, yeah, stuff like that. Um, you you would want to see that not happen, but at the same time, certain things are just inevitable. And to keep your mental sanity, don't try and control things that you just can't control. You gotta be very flexible. I always say to people, whatever happens to this industry, make sure that you have more than one skill in your art, in your vernacular, right? In your toolbox, so that you can always switch. Like if something happens in one industry, or one thing that you do, whether it's the acting or whether you're a compositor or whether you are a director or a screenwriter, if for some reason something happens in to that particular role in the industry and you don't get any work, you can always jump to something else. I think these days we cannot just stick to just one craft anymore. You have to be multifunctional, multidimensional, multi everything basically. And I think that's also why I do what I do. A lot of people call me crazy for doing so much or having done so much, like, oh, you need to focus on just one thing. You're a jack of all trades, and a master of none. I said, I'm sorry, but if something does happen, I can always jump. I do not necessarily have to beg people to give me the job that I just lost and to give me
Yeah.
something similar, because it's the only thing that I can. There will be 50, maybe even 100 people doing the same thing just like me. Competition will be bigger, but if you don't just depend on that one thing, you can jump to the other. It's probably not what you want, because if you train to be an actor, that's really all you want to be. There are many actors out there who unfortunately still have to be waitressing in restaurants before they can actually get a job done. So it's all about supporting yourself. But if you want to play it smart, do other things. If you feel in a certain moment that you are drawn to something, even if it might not have anything directly to do with what you are doing, that might be a sign, like, hey, try this other thing out. You'll never lose out. You'll never miss out. It'll never be a treason to your craft, to your main craft. Actually, I think it'll add more to it. And that's why I do different things. So in answer to your question, what to do with the, with the industry and whether it will stay this way or not, it really doesn't matter because we cannot stop it if it does change and goes into a direction that might not be beneficial for us. But whatever comes your way, make sure you are prepared. Make sure you're armored and you basically prepared yourself with all these skills that whatever comes our way, you will be able to face it no matter what. You'll be able to be flexible because if you're not flexible and you cannot adjust quickly, that means you can either bend or you're going to break.
Right. Right. Those are some words of wisdom for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that was all. That was all for the interview. But I just want to
Amazing.
say thank you. Thank you so much for coming on, Rebecca, and for sparing your time and
Of course.
sharing your knowledge and experience with us. One question about your projects that you're working on at the moment. Can you give us any details, or is it a bit hush hush at the moment, or
It's sort of hush hush.
okay?
There's a lot. There are let's see, one, two. There are two projects in pre-production. Actually, sorry, one is still in the process of being written, which I'm co-writing. That's a feature film. The other one is also a feature film. That one's already finished in terms of writing. So we are gonna start pitching. We're gonna start this whole the whole treatment process quite soon, I guess. Definitely this year. So those are all on the radar, on the horizon, so to speak. There are smaller projects on the side, but yeah, they just they don't require as much time and energy as feature films, of course. And if you know that you're working on a feature film in different capacities, you're kind of a little proud about that as well. You're like, oh, you know what? I'm excited. It excites me because you can really sink your teeth into a project like that. And short films to me, for example, are great fun to do, which I usually do with a lot of filmmaker friends of mine or just people in the industry. I do tend to work a lot with people from my network. Pretty much all the projects that I'm working on over the last 2, 3 years have either come to me via networks, via people that I've worked with years ago, and you keep in touch. And I think it's definitely a trend in the industry to just whoever you've already worked with, you're just and you liked it, of course, that's another thing. You end up working more often with them. So I'd say that's another piece of advice: keep your networks warm, and not just when you don't need any job, but also when you do have something going on, still be active in networking. But yeah, so about those two, those are the two projects that I'm very excited about, those two feature films.
And
I
I
can't
really hope to
say
see.
much.
Yeah, it's fine. I hope to see some of your work and your upcoming work at some point, and see. I'd love to see you on the big screen and so on and so forth. Where can we find you? Where can we find you? Your social medias or?
Oh, well, I am on Instagram, Rebecca_Hanser. And you'll probably recognize in my bio, I've got my company mentioned there, so you'll know it's me. And what else? Well, YouTube, you can find me there as well. It's a very long title. You're just gonna have to Google it. I've got my own website, RebeccaHanser.com, or Visualize-Productions.com, which is my company's website. And I've got a feature film on Prime, Amazon Prime, out now actually, which is called A Brothers
Wow.
Bond. We worked on that
Okay.
last year, so you can actually see that already. I got a small, decent supporting role in that. Very proud of it. Team was amazing, and you can actually see that on Amazon Prime. It's available to watch.
Let's
It's
all
streaming.
check out that film, guys. Let's all check out the
Check it
film and
out.
for Rebecca for sure. Well, it's been a pleasure having you, Rebecca, and I wish you all the best in your future pursuits.
Thank
And
you.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
great.
It was a lot of fun, and I hope whoever watches this or listens to it gets some advice out of it. Like I said, I love passing on knowledge and tips, and yeah, I just love to contribute that way. So It was a pleasure.